It had appeared all over America in the mid-1990s, the same time that it happened in Littleton, as almost anyone in their teens or 20s at that time could tell you. This cultural meme, perhaps a grotesque mutation of the often gang-related, juvenile delinquent or bad boy black leather jacket, was pushed in mainstream commercial venues on an international basis. Even then Vice President Al Gore got into the act when he visited Jefferson County for the Columbine Memorial Ceremony. Several of these examples, including The Crow, released in 1994, Blade, 1998, and The Matrix, which debuted just before the attack on CHS, had particularly mystical or occult-themed storylines. Boyd Rice, a founder of the Luciferian group, Ordo Lapsit Exilis, and a magister in the Church of Satan's Council of Nine, declared that such films are indeed evidence of the resurrection of an occult tradition he refers to as the Arcadian mystique. Chris Morris, who was alleged to have reported to a classmate at CHS that he didn't follow God's commandments, but Satan's commandments, and that we were all characters in a video game being controlled by someone else, might have been of the same opinion. The quote-unquote industrial music culture, of which Rice was a part, and which gained significant commercial ground in the 1990s, surrounded, was interwoven with, and reinforced the occult themes of these movies, and with the more mainstream end of which the Trenchcoat Mafia were well acquainted. This industrial culture movement, and particularly its industrial music component, is said to have been consciously spawned by British performance artist and self-styled social engineer Neil Megson. Megson, who has employed a variety of pseudonyms, has given interviews alongside and as a friend of now-deceased Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey. Like LaVey, Megson also founded an occult organization of his own, known as the Temple of Psychic Youth. Called Topi, the temple is an offshoot of a deconstructionist occult movement known as Chaos Magic, a movement created in the 1970s which has noticeably given rise to the Order of the Illuminates of Thanateros, which takes its name from those of the gods Thanatos, Greek for death, and Eros, a sexual god, sex and death being primary drives of the human psyche. The Illuminates of Thanateros, or IoT, Initiate's Manual, titled Liber Null, declares that its organization is one along a millennia-old lineage, dating back to the earliest shamans, and is dedicated to twisting the unconscious desires of humanity through lies, trickery, and magic, or advanced, and often subtly exercised, psychophysiological manipulation. The aim of this process has been to lead humanity away from our natural, timeless origins along a progression through several ages of an increasingly complex system of money, religion, and professional politics, the proposed end of which is a perpetual age of chaos, an aim bearing remarkable similarities to the dialectical materialism propounded by Marx. The age of chaos is to be a permanent dark age, characterized by the death of what is decent and natural within humanity, and in which occultism and magic are to reign supreme as the dominant mode of interpreting reality. IoT members, and chaos magicians in general, typically include members of other occult organizations, including the Church of Satan and the Temple of Set, the latter of which is a black magical or left-hand path organization based on Egyptian Set worship, Set being the mythological bringer of night, opposing the god Osiris, and a Satan figure in pre-Christian days. This organization was founded by quote-unquote High Setian priest Michael Aquino, a U.S. Army lieutenant colonel and co-author of a 1975 psychological warfare manual titled From Psyop to Mind War, The Psychology of Victory, which displays an egregiously warped view of the nature of truth. Aquino and his wife, who went by the name of Lilith, were accused in 1987 of sexually abusing 3-year-old boys and girls in daycare programs at the U.S. Army's Presidio, a practice perhaps not that uncommon if articles like Dave McGowan's The Pedopocracy are accurate. Several TCM members and affiliates also recall use of the term FNORD in computer screen names and classroom writings. FNORD is a reference to the writings of now-deceased Golden Dawn initiate Robert Anton Wilson, who wrote of a psychological war between occult factions attempting to control the minds of humanity in his trilogy, Illuminatus. Wilson was a close associate of Peter Carroll, the wealthy real estate investor who co-founded the IoT and who has written many of the works fundamental to chaos magic. Carroll still teaches courses at Wilson's online Maybe Logic Academy. Many less spiritually oriented people are likely to attempt to deny the influence of occultism in our lives, or ignorantly label it harmless, but as the aim of occultism is worldly power and the fulfillment of desire, occultists are not just mentally disturbed, black nail-polished teenagers listening to heavy metal, but highly ambitious, highly intelligent, black-tied adults found among the upper echelons of the hierarchy of civilization, wielding political influence, financial wealth, and social status. The seal of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, a popular sect of the craft as it's known, bears the slogan Ordo ab Chao, Latin for Order from Chaos, a popular concept among magical orders and the psychopathic personality types they attract. The natural world, including natural humanity, is full of complexity and beauty on its own, but sometimes our vision of this becomes clouded with doubt, as is encouraged by LaVey's Satanic Bible, and the idea of superimposing artificial order upon it appears more appealing or even necessary. This process and consequent loss of the soul can be expedited by violent traumatic events like child abuse or armed attacks on high schools. The attack on Columbine was not the first, nor the last of such events. In the run-up to 1999, May 21, 1998 was a particularly busy day, as it saw 4 such gun-related events in schools across America in the span of an afternoon, and the 2007 attack on Virginia Tech had a body count of 33. Politically, following almost every one of these incidents, and particularly following the attack on Columbine, there is a concerted effort put on in an attempt to use the chaos created by the violence in order to create support for legislation to disarm Americans, as was successfully accomplished in Ireland following the Dunblane kindergarten shooting, and in Australia following a shooting in Port Arthur. The push from medical industrial authorities to medicate and psychiatrically monitor young people also took an aggressive turn following the attack, even though it is possible that the Luvox Harris was taking, like the Zoloft he took before that, played a significant part in greasing the skids of his madness and thus enabling his participation in the assault. We are also told that draconian punishments, an increased and more heavily militarized police presence, and increased technologically based surveillance and identification systems are the solution to the troubles of society, which unimaginative politicians from all parties seem all too eager to advance upon us, whether we ask for them or not. One might wonder whom they really serve.